Welcome back, Cowboys Nation. Happy Victory Monday to all of you lovely boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen out there listening to us on this Monday, December 11th. And as of the time of this recording, the Dallas Cowboys are now the number 2 seed in the NFC and the leaders of the NFC East division. But before I get too much further here, we do have a very special guest. We're joined by David's younger brother, Harrison. Harry, say what's up.
Yeah,
So
what else you want out of me?
no, that's perfect. That's perfect. So we got the usual crew plus Harry today, and we're gonna be talking about obviously the events that transpired last night in AT&T Stadium and the murdering of the Philadelphia Eagles. And let's just get started here. And I'll just lead with this, and then y'all can kind of take it and run with it. But we put a lot of faith into him after the San Francisco game, and he has finally fully rewarded us on the national stage as we had a feeling that he would, and as we predicted that he would last weekend last week on our Thursday podcast when we previewed this game. But Dak Prescott is the MVP of the National Football League right now.
Absolutely. And to go off of that, I believe we had a discussion last week. Unfortunately, Clayton was AWOL on that pod episode, but
Per usual.
yeah, but we had this discussion, and Cowboys Twitter really had this discussion in the week leading up was are we scared? Where are we on our kind of panic meter on our defense? And you know what? Not to toot Bennett and my own horn, but we said championship defenses make championship plays, and we just held one of the best offenses to only 2 field goals in a total game. Just complete and utter domination. And honestly, Dak's unlucky not to have probably 1, if not 2 more touchdown passes or touchdowns in general. Yeah, like that CD drop on the sideline. I'm not sure if you guys remember. And then that Cooks getting down at the 1-inch line. Just an overall great game. There were a couple drives that were a bit shaky that Harrison and I kind of looked at each other and were like, oh, God, like, is it happening? But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. We just beat the Dirty Birds by 20 at home. I love seeing the little headlines and maybe a little controversy if Marcus Mariota should be the starter in Philly. So that's always great to see.
Yeah, shout out David Carr on that one. That was the past week. He's tooting his own horn yesterday. That was awesome. But yeah, Dak, MVP favorite right now. He's absolutely balling out. I'm loving looking at on Twitter all day today, and just people watching videos on him and saying what he's doing right. Darren Orlovsky especially is singing high praises to him. He's made like 3 or 4 videos today about how good Dak's playing. That's always awesome to see. But also our O-line played absolutely fantastic. They looked dominant from the get-go, especially our guards. I mean, Tyler and Zach just played absolutely out of their minds. We all were talking about before the pod started about Jalen Carter's PFF score. It was abysmal.
Just like his driving record.
Correct, exactly. Rico Dowdle looked great. His burst is looking really good. And then obviously CD, and then our boy Jake Furr, he looks so good. He's a baller. He wants the ball in his hands as much as he can get the ball in his hands. He's going to hurdle people, run over people, and he's going to hit you and throw you to the ground on blocking too. All around, I can't complain about anything. If somebody complains, they're just being a hater right now. This team is playing on a different level, and we finally beat a winning team.
Yeah, no, those are all great notes. I mean, every single narrative that the media has tried to throw at the Dallas Cowboys this year, literally everything I feel like at least temporarily was put to rest last night. First it was Dak hasn't beaten a good team, and everyone was worried about his interceptions from last year. He's clearly put that to rest, MVP front runner. And then it was the Cowboys haven't beaten anyone yet, and then they beat a really solid team in Seattle that gave us everything that they had, and then they beat the Eagles last night, obviously on Sunday Night Football. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but it feels like it's kind of this end of season is shaping up to be a little bit of a redemption tour is kind of how I look at it. A little bit of a revenge tour. First you start with Philly, and then the next couple weeks it's not really revenge games per se, but once you get in the playoffs, you're looking at potential revenge games. We all know what potentially lies on the horizon with the big bad team in San Francisco. But again, that's getting way too far ahead here. But just to talk about last night, and Harry, I want to get your thoughts here too. But this was just a game, and I mean, just for our defense to not allow that Philadelphia offense to score a single touchdown, that's what's being overlooked, in my opinion. Is everyone's talking about, oh, Philly defense, Philly defense. Their offense didn't score a touchdown last night. I feel like that's what no one is talking about. And I think a lot of the credit has to go to Dan Quinn and just the defense as a whole stepping up, making big time plays. So I guess we'll start with Harry here. I want to know your thoughts on, I guess, just our defense as a whole.
I definitely think like go after watching that Seattle game, like there's definitely worries. Like Seattle dropped a ton of points on us, so there's definitely worries after that. But like seeing Dan Quinn kind of have this bend but not break defense, which like they drove constantly, but like they weren't getting anything out of it. I think that was kind of huge to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, that's a great point. It was especially just yesterday, it felt like the defense reverted back to how they looked earlier in the season, where they're just dominant. They're going to be more physical at the point of attack, which they were. We talked about it, but that Eagles offense is a tough watch. I don't understand their offense. It was just quarterback draws 50-50 balls to AJ Brown and Devontae, and then obviously, Jalen Hurts having his butt pushed by a bunch of 400-pound men. So I don't understand what their offensive game plan was. The lack of touches for DeAndre Swift was really weird. I think he only had like 3 carries in the entire first half yesterday, which was
He's had 9
very
carries.
bizarre.
He's had 9 carries in the first half in the past 3 games combined.
Yeah. So just really, really bizarre stuff. Especially, I know Sirianni said that they were going to try to run the ball after those Eagles fans like protested at the facility this week. And they really didn't do that. We said earlier in when we talked last week in previewing that the game plan was going to have to be to make Jalen Hurts beat us through the air, and he couldn't do it. It worked out exactly how we portrayed it. So, I mean, give credit to us and give credit to, as much as I hate to say it, but give credit to the 49ers. And like Nick Bosa said, they laid the blueprint out there for how to beat the Eagles. And this is now back-to-back weeks where they've been exposed. And so I guess my next question, and again, I'll open this to all y'all, but just in terms of that performance yesterday, how much do you chalk it up to, and specifically again on the defensive side? I know we usually start with the offense, but we're kind of talking more about the defense here. But specifically to last night's game, how much of that performance do you chalk up to our defense playing great, or do you chalk it up more to their offense being really bad? And there is a difference.
So, no, there is a huge difference. I just want to point out a couple stats here. Jalen Hurts had 150 yards until garbage time of the fourth quarter, in which the Eagles were down, and shout out Vok Lombardi on all platforms, but he brought up a great point. The Eagles were down, 11 points in the midway to go in the third quarter, down 3 possessions in the fourth quarter, and they were scared to let Jalen Hurts air it out. And as a Cowboy fan, we've kind of been through our ups and downs as a Cowboys offense, not having an identity, and plays just looking dry and stale. That's the Eagles offense right now. And we've kind of been preaching this all year, even from opening games with the Eagles bare completed passes to only 3 different players. How insane is that? 3 different players caught passes. for Jalen Hurts.
The Wi-Fi is
open
out.
bar and AJ
Hey,
Brown.
Not to cut you off. Your
Damn it.
connection just
Is it
totally.
cut?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fizzling hard right now.
Yeah.
All right, I'll talk right now, and then we'll come back to them if
Oh,
they
God.
come
Okay,
back.
come back to me.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, what Spake was,
Yeah.
I was exactly going to say the same point. The garbage time passing is what's pad stats for the stat padding, excuse me, for AJ Brown. He had 6 catches entering late in that fourth quarter. He got 3 more for another 30 yards. He had 6 for 60. Devontae had like 4 for 40, and they ended with 5 for 73 and 9 of 94. They combined. Jalen had 3 different receivers that he threw to. One was Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, obviously. And then Zacchaeus caught that fake punt, which is a great call.
We all
It was
saw
a
it
perfect
coming.
time for it. Yeah, it was a perfect time for it. But I mean, they don't have anybody outside of those 3 guys. And that's what was hurting us last year too. Remember last year we only had 3 guys you could throw to, 2.5. I mean, I don't count Gallup at all. You
T.Y.
have Dalton
Hilton,
Schultz.
old man.
Yeah, exact. There's my point exactly. That they are literally us, but with the running quarterback from last season. They are not. They can't throw the ball out wide. They can't throw it deep. Jalen Hurts can. He can throw it deep a little bit to AJ, I guess. But last night, not really showing it. 18 for 27, and then their run game is just. It's so weird. They hype up this O line. Everybody's hyping them up all the time, 24/7. It's O line, it's O line, it's O line. Jason Kelsey, Johnson, whatever the singing little loser's name is. They
Vitae.
just, yeah, they had 11 carries, 39 yards for DeAndre Swift. They opened it up in that second half. He looked like he was running the ball great, and finally we could stop him. Boom, punt or fumble, whatever happened. Kenneth Gainwell 4 for 28. I mean, they had the room to run. They just decided not to, and they were playing from behind also. So credit to our defense 100%. And credit to Dan Quinn. I'm going to go 50-50 with your question, Burke. 50% Cowboys defense and 50% game plan, and then 50% the Eagles offense is just not in sync right now whatsoever.
Yeah, Stu, just to tail off that, hopefully the Wi-Fi connection's better.
This
But
sounds
it
better.
was weird that it wasn't really our identity of defense that took over, if that makes sense. It wasn't our D line, and it wasn't us generating pressure on Jalen Hurts, although come crunch time it turned out to be pressure. But it was more so just the back end, and people have come under a lot of scrutiny, like Bland, like Gilmore, like Curse, like Donovan Wilson. All of them came up very clutch in those moments, and it seemed like our linebackers played with a chip on their shoulder too. Marquise Bell had a 91.0 PFF grade. Clark had a 75, but he had an 85 PFF coverage grade. We just balled out in the back end, and just a little fact to point out to the listeners. Philadelphia had 3 fumbles in the first game. None of them were recovered by us. And now 3 fumbles this game, and all 3 were recovered by us. So karma works in mysterious ways for sure. But I agree with Stu, 50-50 in terms of us playing good defense and the Eagles offense just dry and stale.
Yeah.
For me,
No, go ahead. Go
for
ahead.
me, I would say that it was more of Dan Quinn than the Eagles offense, because obviously the Eagles have a dominant offense. They're 10-3 or whatever. They have a dominant offense. Their defense is lackluster. But I think when Dan Quinn calls these plays, he shuts down the run on the first down. They're getting stuffed. There's so many plays where DeAndre Swift's getting tackled just right at the line. When you let Jalen Hurts throw the ball on these third down, like in long situations, he just doesn't have the ability to do it. And especially when you have these corners that the Dallas has, he was shut down, pressure in his face every single time. So I'd credit it more to Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I love that. Bunch of different perspectives. But something else that I was reminded of that I saw on Twitter today. Obviously, we talked about it on the pod. We said we didn't want old man Shaq Leonard anyways. But something that I was reminded of, and our buddy Defy Talks Cowboys on Twitter, he's a great follow, by the way. He tweeted this out today, and it got me thinking back to when we signed Marquise Bell as an undrafted free agent out of Florida A&M. his final two teams that he was deciding between to sign that UDFA deal was the Cowboys and the Eagles, and he chose us over the Eagles. And it turned out, and it showed last night, that that decision by Marquise Bell ended up being a way bigger decision than Shaq Leonard choosing the Eagles over us. Shaq Leonard did play last night. He was a non-factor, which it's got to be pretty tough to see that the team that you chose, he wanted to be the hero of that linebacker room, and come in and be the guy that he was 2-3 years ago, and it's very clear that he's just not that guy anymore. So maybe he needed a little bit of a reality check, but sucks for him. We're chasing big things in Dallas, and he's going to be stuck on a team and in a locker room that seems like it has a little more issues than people really want to talk about. But this isn't an Eagles pod. But I guess just to kind of wrap up on our defense, we need to, and I mean, I'm sure we'll give him his flowers as we get later in the pod, but what a fucking game from Stephon Gilmore last night. Oh my God. Like, he was everything last night that we envisioned when we traded for him. Granted, God had his way of nerfing this team by taking out Trayvon Diggs and, before that week 3 game, but Stephon Gilmore was awesome last night. He was so good. And I just can't help but think and dream about what the secondary could have been if we had a healthy Diggs, like a healthy cornerback room where Jordan Lewis is your cornerback 4, getting a couple rotational snaps, and you have Bland in the slot full time and Gilmore and Trayvon Diggs. Like, oh man, it's so unfair. But he was absolutely incredible last night. AJ Brown, if you missed this, AJ Brown called him old before the game, and Stephon Gilmore, I mean, you could Photoshop him onto that meme of Michael Jordan from The Last Dance saying and I took that personally, because he did take it personally, and it was very evident. He was every single pass breakup he was in, he was getting in AJ's face. They were going, face to face, cage to cage a lot, which was awesome. Gilmore was talking a lot. He obviously had that forced fumble, which was huge. So shout out to Stephon Gilmore. We've been not really hard on him per se, but we've talked about him at times, and we've said that we know that he could be better, and he proved that last night that he still got it. I mean, the guy was a defensive player of the year, and by the time he hangs him up, probably a first ballot Hall of Famer for a reason. I mean, he still got it, and it was just awesome to see that last night, especially for me and my dad listening. Obviously, big Stephon Gilmore guys, even from his days at South Carolina. So really awesome to see that for Gilly. But just shifting over to the other side of the ball, I talked about it when we opened, but I mean, it was my prediction and my cover zero take in the preview for this game with Dak Prescott. Now Vegas finally is reflecting it, but that's your MVP frontrunner of the National Football League right now. And I'm so happy for him because he deserves it. There's no one in the NFL that's gone through more criticism and hardship and adversity, not only in his career on the field, but off the field. Just a lot of the narratives that have gone around about him, especially after how he performed last year and all the stuff that he's gone through. If you know his story about his mother and about his brother, and then obviously the ankle injury, and even people trying to hate on him for him and his beautiful girlfriend welcoming in a child to the world in a few months, and people in the media trying to hate on him. It's just unbelievable the amount of hate that this guy gets, and there's no one more deserving to be the MVP frontrunner right now, just plain and simple. But outside of him, I mean, it was Jake Ferguson, it was CeeDee Lamb, it was the offensive line. Everyone was playing last night. Obviously playing, but everyone was playing at a really high level last night, and it was just awesome to see. So I just want to get y'all's overall thoughts on the offense.
Yeah. We have a new AWL, shout out Petar, but he texted me before the game, and he's a neutral fan, he's a Bears fan, that if we run the ball for 90 to 100 yards, we win this game. And we ran for 138 yards, averaging 4.3 yards a carry. That's why key reasons we won. Just those play action passes. Dak is, I don't know if there's any advanced metrics to really measure this, but Dak on play action passes when there's a wide receiver coming across the field, I just feel like those teardrop passes. My one that comes to mind is that CD Lamb pass on a 3rd and 5. I think on the first drive.
Yeah.
But that's just like, as soon as I see Dak just like kind of like drop it in the breadbasket, like that's one of his throws.
You know it's
as
gonna be
well.
completed.
We talk up the we talk up that seam route, but man, he's just a joy to watch right now. And shout out my killer of the week and Terrence Steele. He actually played phenomenally. One sack was allowed, but in terms of playing what will be a Pro Bowl, not an all pro, but a Pro Bowler type edge rusher, that's a great performance. And just our interior rush, Clayton already alluded to it, but Jordan Davis and Speedy
Jalen
Boy,
Carter.
I'll call Jalen Carter, they were non-existent that whole game. And I guess their only real play was, of course, the touchdown that Jalen Carter recovered the fumble, but
The second fastest he's ever gone in his life, by the way.
Yeah, seriously. But I mean, like, those are 2 first-round picks. Those are players that Eagles fans have been just slamming the table, being like, "Oh, have fun trying to run the ball on us. Have fun." And what did we do? We ran the ball on them. I really liked the usage of Rico Dowdle this game as well. It seemed like both of our running backs were fresh. And I saw it in Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard looked like he had a little more burst than usual yesterday as well. And I was really shocked by that. But you know, you got to go back to number 87 as well. That one catch and run by him, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I saw someone tweet this, so I'm just going to say it. It looked a lot like Kelsey, man.
Yeah.
When he has the ball in his hand, the way he runs and how agile he is for his size. I know people say he has a lot of fluid hips. So shout out whatever her name is, the Cavender twins, for keeping those hips loose for him. But we appreciate you. Come on the pod sometime.
Please, in person.
Yeah. But I mean, like, Ferg has turned the corner, and I don't. This might be a spoiler for my covered zero take, but I think he's going to be one of the faces of the league at tight end. I think it's going to be he might be more Mark Andrews than the Travis Kelce in the league, but I think he's going to be a just huge part of the new tight end university.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, he's going to be up there in Nashville and doing the TEU every year. He's a baller. He's an animal, and he blocks so well too. I mean, Steele needed help at the beginning of the year. We obviously know that. But yesterday, I saw a clip of him absolutely just destroying Hassan Reddick yesterday. I forgot what play it was, but he just came over the side and get a little bump like he did last week against Seattle. And this guy just went parallel to the ground. It was hilarious. He's so good blocking, and obviously he's so good receiving. I'm not going to nitpick at all. Dak did it. Dak said it yesterday. He did not play a perfect game. He said if he did, he would put up 50. He wasn't perfect. I guess the QBR and his rating show that. I think it was like a 68 QBR or something like that. He played a great game, though. I mean, he made plays when he needed to. The only play, obviously, was not good was the fumble for a touchdown. But what I do want to say about that is that right after that, we texted each other like, "Oh no, we got a ball game. Like, this is a drive. If we go 3 and out, they're gonna have all the momentum in the world. You go down and drive down the field, kick a field goal." So not getting 3 and out there and going down, Dak being able to just go down, get points on the board was huge, especially after that fumble for 6. CD played great. Wish he got the ball in his hands a little bit more. And then obviously the penalties. They're playing the Eagles. We know it's going to happen. That clipping call on Biotish was just the worst call I've ever seen. They even talked about it. Thank goodness that guy was insane.
Nuts call.
But I will say they did pick up that holding call on Tyler Smith, that first drive for CD's touchdown. And if they would have called that holding, I would have got apeshit and that game was over. I would have turned it off and gone to bed because there was no way we were going to score a touchdown after that if they actually did call the holding. No, obviously it's a lie. But we played great. I was in Lombardi last night too, saying give Gallup his flowers for the day. But tomorrow we're going to have some words about him. Darius Slay is a great corner. But whenever he's on Michael Gallup, why are you even trying to throw his way? There's just no reason you should even like just look to Bradbury, look to Roby.
Especially on a slant. Like Gallup's worst
exactly.
route, I think, is a slant. I think his worst
Yes.
route is like a quick route. Like if you're gonna throw him on slay, throw a jump ball like fade route. But like you can't stand to watch this Michael Gallup slant anymore. It is. I think the analytics will back it up. It's probably more a pick than it is a catch, which is scary.
So it's like a toe tap.
Yes.
Don't throw to Gallup. It's like
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was wanting to say also. Gallup, great point, Harry. His toe tapping ability is top 2, top 3 in the league, which is crazy to think about. Like there's some good toe tappers in the league, but that's all he's capable of doing. Which you should throw it to him 2 to 3 times a game if he's going to do that, because he can't get open on anything else. Nothing else, he's not getting open. But like I said, I don't want to nitpick on anything else. So I'm just going to say Pollard had a great game. What was it? He had 7 catches, 37 yards. We're getting him in the receiving game more, which I said a couple weeks ago. We needed him to touch the ball 20 to 25 times, touch the ball 23 times yesterday, which is awesome. Ran the ball really well. And then Spanky said earlier, Rico Dowell, he ran the ball hard. He ran it great. He looked good, looked comfortable out there. So all around offensively, obviously it wasn't a perfect game is what Dak said. It wasn't great. If it was, he would have put up 50. But I'm completely happy with our performance. And then again, we'll talk about it later, I'm guessing. But Brandon Aubrey is just amazing. I just can't get over how good he is. You're up 7-3, and you decide to kick a 60-yard field goal. If you miss, you give the ball on the 50-yard line to that offense, and it's probably gonna be 10-7. And instead, he just absolutely just hits right down the middle, probably good from 67, 68 yards. I mean, he's just absolutely he's a weapon out there. It's awesome.
Harry, what do you got?
Like overall thoughts, like Mike McCarthy, like solidifying himself as a great coach. His play calling that first half was just amazing. Like just picking apart the Eagles, it was just incredible. More so in the first half than the second, but like it was just amazing play calling. Then Dak looked poised the entire game, even with pressure in his face. Bad drives, he looked fine, played great. Tony, like everyone else was saying, was looking explosive, and his vision definitely looked improved. You could see him kind of waiting for blocks, moving better than he normally did in the weeks prior. And then wide receivers all around just showed out. That was pretty much it.
Yeah. A lot of great thoughts. And I guess just to kind of like you said, give Michael Gallup his flowers. He had a touchdown. The slant route was terrifying. Again, yeah, Spanky, you hit the nail on the head. We don't need to see Michael Gallup on a slant route maybe ever again. That route and the 8 to 11 yard curl route, like that play, whenever I see him go out for that route, I always have the thought in my head of if Deron Bland was on the other team covering Michael Gallup, that's a pick six any day of the week, because
every time
he gets it's insane how little separation he can get. And again, it sucks. We're really tough on Gallup on this pod, but he just needs to not be on the field, and it sucks. But again, scored a touchdown yesterday, hit an awesome celly, hitting that the shrug was awesome. Also drew a PI on Slay that ended up extending a drive that turned into points. So he made some winning football plays yesterday. Thankfully, that interception, that near interception that Dak had where he tried to hit him on the slant wasn't picked, or this would probably be a much different conversation and discourse that we're having about Michael Gallup right now. But again, that's not a discussion for us. We don't make the decisions in terms of player personnel. But if we're noticing it while watching the game, I'm sure there's people in the building that are taking notice of it as well. So I'll just leave it at that for Michael Gallup. But yeah, man, it was awesome. Dak Prescott was shaking ass on national television last night, and the Eagles didn't score an offensive touchdown. So I don't have too much more to say about the offense other than that. Kind of like Harry said, first half was a lot better than the second half. Mike McCarthy continuing to do his thing, just put his nuts on the table. I love that every time there's a 4th and short anywhere around midfield, automatically that we're going for it. Like, it's so awesome the confidence he has. Like, whenever they put the camera on Mike and he's just already got the play sheet up and he's already reading off a play, like, just zero hesitation, and I love it. The guy has you know, Mike McCarthy, he's on his deathbed 4 days ago and came out and coached an awesome game last night. And shout out to he probably won't get the love that he deserves, but shout out to Dan Quinn and Brian Schottenheimer for keeping the practices going. Obviously, I know McCarthy was worried about potentially losing a couple days, but didn't seem like they lost a step at all with Schottenheimer and Dan Quinn taking over practices for those couple days. So shout out to them for keeping this team afloat. And this is a really fucking good team right now. There's just no other way to, pardon my French, but there's really just no other way to frame it right now. This is a really, really good team. And contrary to last year, I don't think they're peaking. They've even peaked fully yet. We haven't seen a fully complete game where you get your offense, your defense, your running game, and Dak on his A game all at the same time. And that's a scary thought for the rest of the NFL. But just to kind of put a bow on things, I guess, in terms of talking about the game before we move into cover zero and wrapping up. But we got to do, and since we won this week, it's going to be our great, good, and mediocre. And we'll go around the horn here. I feel like I know where a lot of these picks are going to go, especially for the great and good. But we'll go around the horn here, and we'll start with you, Bigger Spank, and we'll let you lead us off here with great, good, and mediocre.
Yeah. So for my great, I want to kind of go off the beaten path here. I'm going to say our controlled physicality yesterday, and kind of like we controlled our emotions as well. Against San Francisco, we came out just pissed off, wanting to hit someone, and played very emotionally. And especially with how big of a game this was, and just the implications of what a win would do, what a loss would do. We were able to dominate them physically. And like we said before, AJ Brown was having a little diva temper tantrum and pushing and shoving Stephon Gilmore. And honestly, it's just like, that's why we buy vets. That's why you send a 5th rounder. That's why you send a 6th rounder. That's why we get Brandon Cooks, is we get those vets in the room to control the chaos. Because I mean, just if AJ Brown was it to shove Sam Williams, it would look like South Memphis out there. So for my good, it would be, I'm gonna give him his roses now. Brandon Aubrey, just spoiling my cover zero take, but he's entering Dan Bailey waters, and I know we said it recently in a group message, but I mean, what a weapon he is if all we have to do is get it to the 45-yard line and it's points. Like, that's unbelievable. And my mediocre would be what am I gonna nitpick? I guess my mediocre would be just not knowing how to stop the tush push. I'm just gonna say it. I just hate seeing the tush push. I've given my keys out is take out the pushers. It's just taking out the pushers. I send Sam Williams out there to rock AJ Brown pushing Jalen Hurts, and they will never do that play again. Just give them a rib shot, get out of there. Both probably ejected after that happens, but you win some, you lose some.
All right. Before we start my great, good, mediocre, I was just thinking about this. I was looking at our stat line. I was looking at Deron Bland. His tackling, obviously, everyone talks about his interceptions and his pick sixes and everything, which obviously you're going to talk about. But his tackling is so underrated. He had 2 tackles for loss yesterday, 5 tackles. Dude can tackle. He loves to hit. That's impressive for a cornerback. I love seeing corners love to hit. All of our cornerbacks love to hit. Gilmore, Diggs. Oh, Diggs, not really. But Gilmore and Bland love putting their head on that ball. Just want to give credit to Bland for that. Great for me. Pause.
Yeah.
Hey, yo.
I saw Bennett look. I was like, oh damn. My great is gonna be Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's play calling. They had a great game plan before the whole week before the game started. And it just looked like we were gonna go out there. That first two possessions we looked good. Got that fumble, that second one from Hurts. We looked like we knew what we were doing, what they were going to be doing too, every single play. Dan Quinn just had a great game plan, and we were just running towards that football all day long. 3 fumbles, obviously. It was awesome to see. Good. You took my Aubrey one. That was going to be my great one. So you know how much I love Brandon Aubrey. But good. I'm going to go with ASAP Ferg. That third down play they had, that obviously is JSAP Ferg. That third down play he had, that great ball by Dak, and then his run after the catch. His running ability after he catches the ball is just absolutely insane. It's awesome. It might be him, and watching Njoku yesterday for the Browns running after the catch is impressive, especially Njoku, how big he is. But Ferg looked awesome. He's so good, like I said earlier, blocking everything. And then my mediocre, I want to do bad on this one, but mediocre is going to be the Eagles' offensive line's overrated asses. Is my mediocre for this today. They just got absolutely just blown up every time. Jason Kelce had one good play where he peeled back. Jason Kelce's a little pussy. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. Lane Johnson just got absolutely destroyed by a fluke game. Micah Parsons. DeMarcus Lawrence looked great yesterday also against, I can't say his last name. Burke, what's left tackle's last name?
Vaitai.
Yeah, whatever, the singing little pussy also. He got destroyed by DeMarcus Lawrence. And then that rookie guard they have just stands no chance. Even with our D tackles, Osa looked great again. With Hankins getting hurt, it's a huge loss. But Mozzie looked okay out there, but that rookie guard they have out there is terrible. And they looked mediocre and bad yesterday.
Harry?
Great has to go to the defensive backs. I mean, like Malik Hooker had that huge incompletion. Then you have Gilmore, obviously disgusting. Deron Bland not allowing any catches. Like, it's got to go to the defensive backfield. Good. I would say would go to the offensive line. I didn't see much problems with them. They gave Dak a good pocket. Even when Steele was struggling, like, he was fine. And then mediocre, Mike McCarthy in the second half. I think some of the play calls were kind of questionable, but overall he coached a pretty good game. But I'd like to see him better in the second half and trying to chew that clock.
I like it. I like it. So Harry actually stole my great, which was going to be a shout out to Malik Hooker, the most underrated player in the NFL right now, and the absolute glue of our safety room. And yeah, really big shout out. I really like that about it. Shit. Sorry. Big shout out to our secondary room, specifically our safety and safety room really stepped up last night. The one time Stu doesn't predict a Donovan Wilson forced fumble, he does just that. Been waiting for it all season. And Brady's killer or hot boy of the week, J-Ron Curse, played a very good game too. So shout out to JK. He was fired up last night. Saw that video, had us ready to run through a brick wall. But my great is gonna be just for the sake of damn it, it's already taken. It was gonna be Jake Ferguson. My great is gonna be switching up. Actually, no, my great is gonna be Dak Prescott. I mean, again, we've been really big supporters of Dak on this pod. Specifically, I said last week he was going to establish himself as the MVP frontrunner last night, and he did just that. And I think he's actually right. I don't think, and us as Cowboy fans and how well he's played, during a lot of games this year, he didn't even have his A game last night, I would say. I would argue he had maybe like a B+ game. But the biggest key, I mean, he didn't turn the ball over yesterday. And we scored on every single drive that we had in the first half. And that's, I mean, in no doubt because of him. And then for my good, I wanted to say Jake Ferguson, but Stu took it for good. And by the way, play of the game, Spanky, I think you said it last night, but the play of the game was the big time Jake Ferguson catch on 3rd and long that ended up extending that drive after the Jalen Carter fumble recovery for the touchdown. But that was undoubtedly the play of the game, and it's just so awesome continuing to see Ferg really come into his own as one of the best tight ends in football right now. But for my good, um, damn, I'll say the usage of our running back room yesterday. Spanky alluded to it earlier, but just the ability to be able to take out Pollard and not have any real fear of losing just overall ability from the running back position and being able to use Rico Dowdle. It's really awesome to see Dowdle, another South Carolina Gamecock, but he's been really awesome this year. Pollard continues to look better each and every week, which is huge for how deep this team goes in the playoffs. We need to have really good balance, and to be able to do it against that defense and that defensive line really says a lot. So that'll be my good. And for my mediocre, just for the sake of being different and not saying something that's already been said, I really liked Harry's point too about Mike McCarthy's second half play calling. That was a really good one. But I'm gonna go with I'll just say Michael Gallup. I don't really have anything else to nitpick on other than that he almost got my MVP intercepted, which I didn't love. So just for the sake of throwing that out there, sorry, Michael Gallup. Again, come on the pod, debate us, please. We know you still got it in you somewhere. Again, please come on the pod. But yeah, I'll just say Michael Gallup for the sake of getting a different answer out there. But as we begin to wrap up here, we're gonna get into our favorite segment, the Cover Zero takes. I know that we've got some spicy stuff. Spanky, you might have to educate Harry a little bit on what a Cover Zero take is. So why don't you go ahead and show him the ropes and give us some fire here?
Yeah. So Cover Zero is just when we air out our fiery, spicy little takes. And I kind of alluded to this early in our group chat, but my Cover Zero take is Mike McCarthy should be a top 3 candidate in Coach of the Year conversations. And I understand the Cowboys weren't bad last year, and that's kind of how the award is judged. But if you bring kind of the full context of this past off season and what was going into this season, Mike McCarthy put his nuts on the table to Jerry Jones and said, get rid of Kellen Moore, although we've had a top 3 offense with him every single year. I'm going to call the plays. I'm going to bring us farther in the playoffs. I want to establish just a winning culture. And not only has he established a culture, he's established our absolute team offensive identity. And we've alluded to this before, but the Eagles, no identity on offense. The Chargers, no identity on offense. And we could speak on this behalf because we've seen Kellen Moore schemes where he just calls plays and there's no culture, there's no identity, there's no just nothing about their offense. And just Mike McCarthy putting his nuts on the table after not having to call plays for a certain period of time in his coaching career. I mean, just that context alone should put him in the debate. And I'm going to just say it. JSAP Ferg is a top 5 tight end in football. His rack ability is special and his just sneaky athleticism. I mean, what? We're on 2 hurdles in 2 weeks now. Like, stop playing with the man.
Love it. I don't know how hot of a take this is. But I know you said it last week, Bennett, talking about Dak. I think I said like week 9, I believe. I said if Dak goes 7-1 the rest of the way, he will win the MVP. I forgot what week that was. I said that. That was my prediction. We'd go 7-1. It's looking really good right now. My prediction is that we sweep all 3 awards for the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and I'm just gonna say it's like a sweep is gonna be the Special Teams Player of the Year. I know because I know we're not gonna win Coach of the Year, but I'm gonna put Brandon Aubrey as winning Special Teams Player of the Year because that's an obvious answer. But Dak, Micah, and Aubrey will win Special Teams Player of the Year, and then MVP Decoy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Love
I guess
it.
My hot take would have to be like the Cowboys have their front seven, I think, is top 3 at this moment. Like Marquise Bell, an animal, Damon Clark, an animal, Osa, just amazing D tackle, and then obviously we have these DNs who are ridiculous. So I gotta say the Cowboys front seven has to be in the top 3.
Love that. Love that. That's a good take. It's a good take for a first timer. Okay. My cover zero take. Man, this is tough.
Just when Burke thinks for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
But,
this
like,
is usually when I just start talking in order to stall like I'm doing right now, while I try to think. You'd think that I'd start coming prepared to these things, but I don't. So, right. So my cover zero take this week, I'm gonna stay away from the Dak route because I've been on my hands and knees slurping them. Pause. We gotta cut that. That's so bad. Wow.
Golly.
that's gonna be on the internet forever, dude. Holy shit.
I ain't cutting that.
If anything, Stu, like have it like replay a couple times. Make a
Oh, God.
remix out of it.
What have I done? You know what? Stand on it. Stand on business. Yeah, that's my MVP. Unrelated, but okay. My cover zero take is gonna be my cover zero take is gonna be. I guess I have. It's kind of a catch-all here, but I already said my first part, which is that Malik Hooker is the most underrated player in the NFL. Actually, I'll just make that my cover zero take. Malik Hooker is the most underrated player in the NFL. Another great game from him last night. He's been doing it all season. He's been the one guy that hasn't been nitpicked in our safety room this year. Donovan Wilson's gotten shit on a lot. Curse has taken a lot of flack this year, and for good reason. They haven't been great. But Malik Hooker continues to be the glue in that Cowboys safety room. He continues to be just so underrated, really showing why he was a first round pick to the Colts all those years back out of Ohio State. And I mean, he's just a dog. He's so good. He's always around the play. It seems like in the secondary, like he's always doing something good, and he doesn't get his name called, which as a DB, that's a pretty good thing. So, I'll just say that as my cover zero take is that Malik Hooker is the most underrated player in the NFL. So I guess with all that being said, you guys have anything else we want to add before we sign off here?
Nope.
Okay. Well, Harry, appreciate you coming on and talking about the game with the boys. Love having you. Maybe we'll have to get you back. Maybe later this week, or I guess as we kind of transition, you'll be on winter break, so got a little bit of time to work with. We'll see if we can work something out. And as always, thank you guys so much for joining us today. And as always, we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please follow us on our socials, our X/Twitter, and our TikTok at DallasBCPod, Instagram at DallasBCPodcast. Email us for sponsorships or inquiries, podcastdbc@gmail.com. And we're also working on some stuff to hopefully increase the just overall aesthetic appeal of our podcast. So just stay tuned for that. Got some things working behind the scenes here. So again, just stay tuned. Go fuck yourself, Philadelphia. And thank you guys so much for joining us today again. And we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Boom!